thoughtful of mind. White, thoughtful of mind. Carrot to the rhythm and cook it on time. Let's move for the money. Thoughtful of mind. Carrot to the rhythm and cook it on time. Let's thoughtful of mind. Carrot to the rhythm and cook it on time. Let's move for the money. Thoughtful of mind. Thoughtful of mind. Food for the money. Thoughtful of mind. Food for the money. Thoughtful of mind. Thoughtful of mind. Thoughtful of mind. Food for the money. Thoughtful of mind. Food for the money. Thoughtful of mind.
Good morning, everybody. I will be starting a live stream here shortly. Hope you're doing well. Good morning to wherever you're at, or good afternoon. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Mantis. Good morning, Simon. Good morning, FEG. Wolf, good morning. FEG, thank you. Just give me one moment here. I'm going to put the music back on and just give me about 2 minutes and we'll get started.
Thoughtful of mind.
Good morning, Roosta. Good to see you here. I'm doing very well. How about yourself? Kenneth, Wayne, Kopex, Eros, Harris, my brother, good morning. Mitch, good morning. Hope everybody's having a good, blessed morning. Happy to be alive. Markets they're moving this morning. Alright, let me take off the music for you guys. Ever since I started live streaming, I've been getting into this house music on YouTube, which is, I don't know, it's just a good vibe in the morning. So I believe you can't hear the music anymore. And then I gotta move OBS up. Let me know if you can see the screen clearly here. Today is a good day for TP. Good morning, Ozzy. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Bove, Jake, Flatwood. Yeah, if I can just get I guess a 5x5, whatever that means. I think it just means audio and visual is good. I'll link it in the chat, Mantis. Cool. All right. Make sure to like the video, please. We only got 30 likes. Yeah, we got 30 likes on here, so please like that video. Like it. Share it. Good morning, Celine. Good morning, Roberto. All right. Let's get into this stuff. Man, don't we have the greatest job in the world? I never get sick of this stuff. All right. Let's look at the weekly time frame here. So, weekly time frame. Let's put ourselves into the weekly time frame candlestick mindset. Why would we be doing that? Well, think of the day of the week. It's a Friday, So typically, what is the template that you're going to be looking at going into a Friday? What is it that ICT teaches? Typically, it's TGIF, which is a 20 to 30% retracement back into the weekly range, or even a lower closure of the week, right? So we've taken out buy-side liquidity. Yesterday, you've seen the displacement lower, which it looks like Wednesday is the high of the week. So if you're looking in terms of a weekly profile and what the high or low of the week is, to me, Wednesday set the high of the week. So I'm not anticipating today to run up higher and make a new high. To me, the high of the week would be set in already. So what would I be anticipating? I'd be anticipating a run possibly back into the weekly range that we've already expanded through on Monday through Wednesday, right? Looking at the daily time frame, do this real quick. Looking at the daily time frame in here, what would I be looking at? Well, I'd be looking at the lower inefficiencies that rest beneath price, because if I'm looking for lower prices, then I need to be looking for inefficiencies or liquidity that's resting beneath me. So this inefficiency in price is the one that's beneath us currently. So I'd be looking for price to dig into that lower portion. That's just my anticipation for this morning. Things could change. I could change my bias and see where things happen. But as of now, and what I'm looking at, and typically with TGIF, I'm looking for a retracement back into the weekly range, and I'm going to be looking for lower levels. So it makes logical sense to look for a daily time frame, this fair value gap in here, for price to draw into. I talked about yesterday the the wick, how we reacted off of the basically 50, 75%. I know that's 25, but if I flipped it, it would be 75. So what would I be doing today? I'd be doing the same thing with this wick in here. So on the daily time frame, if we, for some reason today, move higher, then I'd be looking at this wick to act as resistance and print another lower high, another swing high. So you see how a swing high has a higher, let me try to phrase this right, a higher low to the left of it, a higher high in the middle, and a lower high to the right of it. So anytime you're looking for a swing high, especially on a daily time frame, a weekly time frame, and you want to see if that's possibly the true high, then look to your left and to your right. Are both of these highs lower than that high? Yes, we have one that's lower than this, and that one as well. So that is a swing high. If price does, for some reason, move higher today, I'd be looking at that 25 to 50% of that wick. Same thing as yesterday. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, we have a bearish order block in here. We've retraced up into it, and I'm curious to see if we can get an expansion lower that would be targeting the inefficiency in here, reclaimed, and the south side liquidity pool that's resting there. So initially today, I'd be looking for lower prices. That's a good question, Ian. So I haven't looked at the chat, but yes, it still is valid. Overall, if you're just looking at TGIF in a nutshell, you're just looking for a reversal away from whatever was happening the entire week. So we were bullish basically all week. Coming into Friday, I'm looking for an expansion away from whatever the high was of the week. So I'm looking for an expansion away from it rather than price gravitating towards it. And that's kind of how I'm utilizing today. So in here, if you look at ES has a much cleaner sell side liquidity pool, like really, really clean compared to NQ. There's a bearish SMT that there's a lot of SMT going on right now. It's a little bit decoupled. So I just want to see how we roll into the silver bullet. But in terms of the 1 hour price delivery, that 4-hour order block refined into the 1 hour. We've retraced up into there. If you put on the new day opening gaps and the new week opening gap, this is yesterday's previous new day opening gap. I still can utilize it, It's technically still volume imbalance. And then today, this is really something that we can utilize. You can see that we've traded up above it. And then the new week opening gap, basically to a T yesterday. So it depends how fast we want to gravitate lower or higher today, and if we have enough juice of the lemon to squeeze. But if we really started to expand lower, then I'd be looking for the sell side liquidity pool and possibly this inefficiency in here today. Not saying that's going to happen, but I have to be ready and at least have targets outlined for myself. I don't particularly see us making a new high. I don't see that as a high probability case. We just opened, so let me go down to some lower time frames. I just wanted to give you a perspective on the higher time frames and seeing what we're doing, right? Good morning, amigo. Don't trade Friday. I mean, it's all personal, whatever you particularly choose. Today, I'm not trading on my live account. I want you guys to know that. I've already said to you guys yesterday. Yesterday was my last trade of the week. I'm up on the week. I've had a good profitable week. I'm not going to push on the end of the week, especially when I'm already up on the week. There's no reason to push. I will, if there is a trade setup, I will take a paper trade, and that's just going to be me practicing. If you guys want to take it alongside me, that's cool, but I just want to let you know I'm not going to be taking it on my live account. The work's already been done. So let me mark out a few levels in here. What's going on, Emmanuel? Hope you're doing well. For some reason this new day opening gap's not working. Remember, what's the focus of the live stream, guys? Time. Silver bullet. We're waiting for time. Let time do the work for you. Don't be in a rush. You don't need to be in here trying to get an entry. Let me turn down my music a little bit. It's a little loud. So on the 5-minute time frame in here, we had a news event driver 1 hour ago, basically. Set it lower, higher, took out some buy side liquidity here. These two levels, those are both, this is the current new day opening gap, that orange one, and that gray one is yesterday's new day opening gap. I'm just keeping it on there for the sake of we run up into it. For some reason, this one is not willing to work with me. You can see that is a clear, that is an actual liquidity void. There's no trading that's been done in between there. It's different than a volume imbalance. It's different than a fair value gap. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I wish my indicator would be working, but it's not. Anyways, it's on this one. I gotta do the chat real quick. Guys, if you can please like the video here. We're only at 79 likes. It's the only thing I ask. Just please like the video. So we returned up into, if you're looking at least the 15-minute time frame, from that dealing range high down to this low, we've gotten up inside of a premium. Basically optimal trade entry level. Justin, can you clean up those messages, please? Please do not spam in my chat. I will delete you. Thank you, Justin. You only need a message once. I will see it. I believe somebody asked about macros. In terms of the macro before the silver bullet, there's times where I'll be willing to operate or take a trade within that macro, because if something's lining up right before the silver bullet and that macro's in place, then obviously it's a still a valid entry point. I don't always need to wait for that silver bullet hour to operate in that exact hour, but if the macro's in play and I see something setting up, then yes. So if you even look at a 1 minute time frame, I know that person just asked, but I was going to it regardless. You can see we've taken out sell side, taken out buy side, taken out sell side again. So there's nothing clear in terms of direction. We've taken out both sides of the board. But gun to my head today, I'd be looking for lower prices. And why would I be looking at that in terms of, I mean, I've already gone over the weekly template, but just even the 1 hour order flow, I mean, that's apparent to the lower time frames. Looking at yesterday, we went up into a premium from that dealing range high down to this low. We turned up into a premium, bearish order block, dropped off lower, shifted market structure there. What do we do today? Gravitated right up into that bearish order block. To me, we'd be wanting to seek lower prices. So you need to be paying attention to the parent order flow, which is the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, especially when you're looking at a 15-minute chart, 5 and 1 minute. That's going to give you your directional bias and where your draw on liquidity is. If you can just find the draw on liquidity, everything else is plug and play. Find your draw on liquidity, then wait for your model and time to form and just plug it into the market. You don't have to overcomplicate it to the point where you're confused on everything. So if you look at YM and ES, they both made new highs in here, which is a bearish SMT. I would elect to believe that those will end up moving off lower today. That's just my personal opinion, but we'll see what happens. No, Marco, I have not. You know my style, brother. You've been in here every day. We wait for the silver bullet. We wait for time. Shoot, I actually need water. Something I want to do as well is the RTH gap in here. So if you look at the RTH gap, I know there's a few things on here. So from that low, yesterday's close, to this open, that's your RTH gap, at least the liquidity void. Let me extend that out to the right. If you're new, just coming in, please like the video. Appreciate it. So the market's a bit decoupled in terms of looking at ES and YM. I mean, they're all making new highs, ES and YM, while NQ's kind of in the middle of both of them. So I'm curious to see, as we roll into the silver bullet, what's really trying to play out in here. Dollar index is supporting nothing for me. It's just been range bound, so How would one be able to improve their read on drawn liquidity? Time, experience, having somebody guide you with experience where the drawn liquidity is. That's what ICT did for us, and that's what I'm trying to do for you as well. There's nothing in here that's very significant to me that I'd be hardline decision making on. Just in terms of the higher time frame and other things, then I'd be looking for lower prices currently. But why is my time UTI? It's because I'm just accustomed to Central Time. It's just my time zone. I say this every live stream. I need to get an FAQ. I forget to do the work to do that. Why don't I trade USD? Because I just don't trade Euro. Morning, Alex. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge... Just because I'm live streaming doesn't mean I have to... If I'm already up on the week and I'm doing these live streams, it doesn't mean that I have to push something just for you guys to see it. I'll do it on paper trading, and if I lose, then obviously there's no loss to me. I mean, maybe to you guys, because you're probably going to be taking the trade, which I don't advise you to be doing, but you have to know when to stop pushing it. And if you don't feel like something is content or good enough, you need to figure out why that is, because that's simply greed. And I know myself by Friday. I've been through a lot the whole week with live streaming, just general life, working out. I'm fatigued, so I feel good today, but regardless, I know myself. I'm not probably at my optimal level as if I would be on a Monday or Tuesday. So my judgment may be skewed. Good morning, A7. How often do I live stream? Every single day. So if you look at the 5-minute time frame and just the structure of price, bit seek and destroy in the morning in here, where you're taking out sell stops, running out buy stops, taking out sell stops again. So it's not particularly very high probability to me. See, buy stops were ran there. Sell stops were ran first, buy stops, then sell stops. So you have to be careful and annotate those conditions. Thank you, full-time trader. So we may want to come in and close in this RTH gap, if you remember from where that's at. YM is pushing off higher. Yes, not so much. Just nothing in here right now. It's nothing that would particularly be a hard line to be like, all right, I'm very certain we're going to gravitate towards the lows or the highs. We do have an inefficiency right here, but particularly if we are going to drop off lower, I'd want that to stay open, because we've already gone into the 15-minute, which is the parent to the 5-minute. So that can be translated to all of their time frames, especially like the 1-minute. If you're wondering how to predict breakaway gaps, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but if a parent time frame fair value gap's already been traded up into, then expect the lower time frame to stay open, or at least anticipate it. Okay, awesome to hear, brother. Good to have you in here. Welcome for all those who are new. I know we got a lot of new viewers yesterday and subscribers, so I appreciate it. All the new support. FYI, I believe next week I will be partnering with My Funded Futures for a giveaway, so be on the lookout for that. I chatted with a few of them yesterday. The only reason I'm not going to partner with any other company that I'm not trading live with, I just don't see the point in. So they've been very generous to me, and they've been awesome, and I really, really love their platform and the things that they're doing to the industry. So it's the reason why I would recommend them to all of you, especially if you're trading futures. I think they're one of the best futures prop firms out there right now. So I'm going to draw your attention back out to these higher time frames, because it's where you need to be looking. If you're struggling on bias, if you're struggling on directional price, it's because you're not paying attention to these higher time frames. What's the order flow here? What's the template for the week? What's the time of the week? Those type of things are important. What's happened throughout the week? Theodore, no, they don't do that. I mean, they'll do every now and again a 50% off, but it's usually for like a day or two. And to me, the Apex is a little, to me, sketchy. I don't find them particularly a reliable place, but some people love them. I particularly don't. But again, going back on the idea of the higher time frame order flow, the question I get, how do I know the draw on liquidity? How do I know where the market's going? Well, you need to be paying attention to the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. What is the order flow doing? Where's the inefficiencies? What is it respecting? Is it respecting bullish PD arrays? Is it respecting bearish PD arrays? Where's the liquidity at? Those type of things. Is it already taken out buy side liquidity on a 1 hour, 4 hour? Well, we've already taken out the weekly buy side liquidity pool. We dropped off lower yesterday. What's the order flow on the 1 hour, the 4 hour? Well, we're making new lows. We're respecting bearish PD arrays. Those type of things, it's that simple. It's not like rocket science to figure out what price is doing. And if you can find the draw on liquidity, then all you have to do is wait for time and plug in your model. So if your model is simply a fair value gap inside of a discount or premium on lower time frames, and then you wait for that with time and you target your draw on liquidity. And that's it. There's nothing else that you need to, of course there's a lot of other variables you could throw in there, but to keep it simple for newer students, that's all I would do. You don't need to add macros and seasonal tendencies and SMT and new week opening gaps, new day opening gaps, and dollar index. I mean, I know I say all these things because they are very important, but if you want to keep it simple, find your draw on liquidity and plug and play with your model. That's it. And as you graduate, as you become more experienced, then of course you can add more seasonings into your recipe, as I would say. Okay, yeah, I've struggled with psychological issues for a long time, and I've always recommended this book, The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tindler. It's the one source that's basically got me over the psychological hurdle that most people struggle with. So knowing the draw on liquidity and where a price should gravitate towards, what else would support that idea? Well, we do have bearish SMT with YM and ES both making new highs, while NQ has failed to do that. So that would support the idea. Dollar index is just stagnant this whole week, which is typical for January trading. You have to remember the time of the year that we're in. Once dollar index starts to open up and it has good large swings, then we're going to be able to have easy trading, because when everything's in line and it's very easy in terms of confluence, especially with dollar index, it's super easy. So technically this last down close candle, or these series of down close candles, would be your bearish breaker. Right, if I go out to like maybe a 2 minute or 3 minute, you can see the structure a little bit better. So you have a high, a low, a higher high, then a lower low. So to me, if this thing was really to be bearish, it would have to stay underneath that 5 minute. I would not want to see that 5 minute retrade it back into, because we've already done the work on the 15 minute. We're inside of the bearish breaker. So breakers are another indication of breakaway gaps and how to anticipate them. And if you feel any type of fear and like, man, I'm gonna miss out, I'm gonna miss the move, well, you have to figure out why that is, obviously. in terms of fear. But if you're just following a rule set, which is time, the number one important thing, it's not even into the macro yet. So you shouldn't be fearing anything. And to me, just looking at price, it's a bit ugly. It's a bit unclear to me currently. Even though I favor the downside, there's nothing I would want to position myself into the market. Thank you, Justin. For all the viewers in here, if you can please like the video, I'd appreciate it. I can see that we're kind of up there on views. Yeah, there's a difference between market structure shifts and market structure breaks. I don't think people realize that. Market structure breaks are a higher time frame narrative switch, right? That's a break in market structure. So that's you on a 4-hour, a daily time frame. That's you breaking market structure and you now having a turning point. Market structure shifts are on lower time frames. Those are micro shifts in price action. So you have to understand the difference there. Also, turtle soups. If you have a turtle soup on liquidity, you don't technically need a shift in market structure. If you look at like a very fine print, like underneath a 1 minute time frame, you're going to see that. But sometimes on 1 minute, you don't get a shift in market structure. All you have is just an energetic displacement. And that's fine. With turtle soups, it's not necessarily needed. But you have to be experienced enough to see that. I think it's, yeah, for every missed move, there's typically an entry. I have no cards in front of me that are particularly tailored to myself, but I have something like there will always be a trade tomorrow. So if I'm not particularly confident in a trade setup, I'm not trading like I have a gun to my head. I don't have to force anything. Unless something is super clear, I can see all the evidence surrounding it, then I'm able to take the trade. I've talked about this yesterday and multiple days. Most of you trade as if you have a gun to your head, and you have to take a trade. You have to force something. You have to get in there and see if you're right or you're wrong. You don't have to trade like that. If something's not clear to you, then either A, you're not experienced enough to see it, which means you shouldn't even be trading, or B, it's just not clear. Yeah, Marco, it's been crazy, the growth over the last 2 weeks here, so I appreciate all the new viewership. Do I have any mentorship? No, I do not. Am I going to take a trade? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The whole point of the live stream is waiting for the silver bullet. We're inside of the macro before the silver bullet, so my time is 8:50 to 10:10 in here. So this 20-minute window, if there was something that was really good and it was aligning during this macro, then I'd be willing to take that trade. And again, for those who are just dropping in, I'm already done for the week on my live account. You can see the whole transparent week on my Twitter. So let's drop into a 1 minute time frame here. So some nice displacement in here. What do I do when you're confused and you can't see anything on the charts? You do nothing. You sit still. And that's a point in psychology where there's going to be times where you don't know what price is doing. And you're going to have this point where you're arguing with yourself subconsciously or consciously where you're like, man, I don't know what's going on. So you want to push a button to see that you can figure out what is going on, to prove to yourself that you know enough knowledge about the market to push to be correct. Sometimes you just don't know what's going on in the market. It's perfectly okay to say to yourself, man, I don't know what's going on. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you don't know these concepts. It just means there isn't enough information for you to make a decision. So sit still. Let time do the work for you. Most of the time when you guys are sitting there, just, I want to push a button. I don't know what's going on. Just let time do the work for you. You don't have to do anything. Thank you, Big O. Yeah, I know. I think I was at like a higher time frame. It's 8:50 to 9:10. Apologies. So you can see in here on the 1 minute, that's a new day opening gap, but inside of that run up today, prior to the open, take this away. That would be a inversion fair value gap that price is utilizing currently. And if you're new here, I mean, most of the time, for those who have been here, most of the time I'm preaching about psychology, like 90% of my streams, because that's all trading really is. So on the 15-minute time frame, I'm kind of looking for some inefficiencies or something that we can reach down into in terms of discount. So from that low to that high, anything in here is what you could be using to at least target into. But overall, I'd be looking for that sell side at 17,466. So a small inefficiency there. Justin, can you link my Twitter? Thank you. If you're new here, please like the video. That's all I ask. So I want to see if we can get a sharp displacement lower, moving into the silver bullet. What about the 1 hour BISI? Yeah, you could use that as well. So just looking at the 1 hour order flow and what it's doing, that's the parent to the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 1 minute. What is it doing? And just basic market structure, we're making lower lows and lower highs. Some of you forget that you need to go back to like very basic trading. It's just, well, what are we doing? Lower highs and lower lows, higher highs and higher lows. If you see where the trend is going, then just seek sell side. If we're bearish, you're seeking sell side. What are we respecting? Bearish PD arrays. Right? You don't have to be super complicated. So what have we done on the 5 minute, the 15 minute? We've taken out buy side liquidity inside of that bearish dealing range. Dropped lower, shifted market structure. We have this new day opening gap that we rejected off of, and then that bearish breaker. Yeah, Harris, we hit like 512 just a few minutes ago. Abraham or Akram, I've been, how many years? I've studied ICT close to 4. I've been trading for about 6 years. But yeah, it's 2 months and I've already seen progression. Yeah, I think even within a few weeks or days, you can see the concepts and how they actually do work. I mean, to me, I've discussed this yesterday. I think you should give it at least a 2-year view before you really start to judge whether these concepts work or not. And that's with any trading style. I mean, it's going to take you at least a full trading year to see the concepts in play and how they work and seasonal tendencies, etc. So even in here, there's nothing for me that I would be willing to go short. Even though my bias and what I'm looking for would be lower prices, there's nothing in here that's screaming for me to go short. So there's going to be times where you have a bias, you think you know where price is going, keyword think, but there's no entry pattern. So sometimes you may actually be incorrect on your bias and your entry never forms and it protects you. That's why we don't FOMO into positions, because sometimes you're actually not correct. But there's going to be times where you're correct on your bias and your entry pattern also doesn't form and it leaves you. That's a part of discipline, because there's also the contrarian where you think you know where the bias is going. Your entry pattern never forms. You don't enter in the market, and then it doesn't go to your actual bias, and that's where your discipline protects you. So there's two sides of the coin. Sometimes discipline is a bitch, and then sometimes discipline protects you. And that's the reason why we follow rules and we follow our system. We don't just because it dropped off lower in here doesn't mean, okay, I go short. I'm pressing a button. I'm doing something. No. So we've just moved into the silver bullet hour. Again, there's nothing particularly in here that I would be like, wow, this is really something I want to take. If you guys have been here for a while, you know if I take an entry, I'm going to take an entry. I'll tell you when I'm entering in the market. I don't just tape read here. Particularly today, that is what I'm doing because I'm already done for the week. So if I go down into like a 1 minute time frame, I mean, I guarantee you some of people would have saw this fair value gap as a short. To me, there's just not enough evidence. Just because there's a fair value gap and a shift in market structure. I mean, look at the price delivery beforehand. To me, it's pretty sloppy. You need to be looking at price delivery before your entry, how it's been reacting, because it'll probably give you a huge tell. But currently, we're kind of in high resistance liquidity run. And high resistance is just price moving very lethargically, moving back and forth, slowly, or not giving a clear intended direction. And those are, to me, look at what we've already done in the 1 minute prior to the open. That's very sloppy delivery. So I'm not rushing to get into the market just because there's a sudden displacement lower. Because I know if price beforehand has been very lethargic, back and forth, high resistance beforehand, more than likely you're probably going to stay in that for a period of time. So I need to see enough evidence, a displacement lower, with clear evidence on higher time frames, lower time frames confirmation, S&T, to give me enough confidence to want to short this. I think for a newer trader, being on the 1 minute, you can mess up a lot. But I also don't discourage you away from the 1 minute because I think there's so many opportunities to practice your model and practice tape reading. Why sloppy today? Let's go on XNO. Good to see you in here. I mean, this happens a lot. A lot of people ask me this. Most of the time with index futures, the first 30 minutes, maybe an hour could be sloppy at price delivery, and then the rest of the day is super clean. So sometimes you just have to wait through a little bit of sloppy delivery before you get clean, easy delivery. But you can see in here, to me, this is not something I would want to be a part of currently. If we had a nice shift underneath this low, right, higher time frames are aligning, I could see that we were clearly moving off lower, then I'd be willing to possibly short into this market. But currently it's telling me to sit still because I'm looking at the delivery of what's happened before. I don't have a Discord. For all the new viewers, I can see we're at 551, which is a new record here, so appreciate all the new viewership. Only thing I ask is subscribe and like the video. And if I don't get to your question, I do apologize. There's a lot going on. I'm trying to pay attention to the charts and the chat and be efficient with it. This is the question I get, ICT gets. Which fair value gap do I pick? Which one do I pick? So I stated earlier is if you can find the draw on liquidity using higher time frame analysis, you're looking at just basic order flow, the structure of price, If I'm making new lows and new lower highs, and I can see that the draw on liquidity is lower than me, beneath price, then I'm going to find a fair value gap, particularly in a discount or inside of a premium. So let's just say this thing sold off, and this is a little bit better price delivery in here, not so much high resistance. On a 1 minute, you make a new low. Where's this fair value gap? It's inside of a premium from that high down to this low. So it's inside of a premium. There's a lot of different criteria to picking a right fair value gap, and particularly its time and its experience in taking a lot of losses to figure out which one is a good fair value gap. There's no hidden secret or recipe for it. You need more mods. I got plenty of friends for that, so if it gets a little too hectic, yeah, I got a backup team for it. Were you ICT Charter? Yes, I've been. If I don't answer a question, and for those who have been in here, feel free to answer the questions for me. I would appreciate it. So you see how now we're having a nice displacement lower, and if we really start to drop off in here, then that's really going to start to confirm me that we're probably going to want to seek the sell side in here. Yeah, this macro is it's beautiful, isn't it? So from this little time window, you can see the volatility basically spikes into it. It's the reason why I wait for the silver bullet, because most of the time everything's cleared up and I can get a good read on the market. Yeah, it does look like a market maker sell model. Original consolidation, accumulation, reaccumulation, smart money reversal, first stage distribution, and I'd probably be looking for the second stage, aka the unicorn, dropping into the sell side in here. So far, beautiful delivery right from the open. Keep an eye on this 1 hour, but I think we'll trade right through it. Look at the 4 hour and what we were annotating. I'm telling you, if you use the higher time frame narrative and just basic market structure, keeping it very simple, you can see where price is really reacting off of and trying to gravitate to and from. In here, again, I'm just looking at the delivery of price. There's nothing I can really say. I think that's from more or less experience telling me not to enter on that fair value gap. I don't know how else to put it. Because I think my younger self would have seen that and really tried to short off of it. It's time and experience. And sometimes that's what it gives you. It forges you time and experience, and your subconscious is going to probably tell you, that doesn't really look right. I don't want to enter into that. Even though my bias was short, even though I'm looking for lower prices, it's just something's telling me not to do that. I don't know how else to explain it. And the fact that anytime you're reaching down into an opposing side, right? So from that, we're inside of this dealing range. From this low all the way up to that high, we're inside of a discount. So anytime, anything above equilibrium would be a higher probability short. As soon as we reach down into that discount, it can give price a short-term relief to have a short-term retracement into a short-term premium. I know it's a lot of words, but you have to be aware of your dealing ranges and where you're at in terms of discount or premium. Yes, I do watch dollar index, but this week has just not been the last basically this whole year for dollar index. It's been inside of consolidation, so it's not really something I'm paying attention to too heavily. PA dumpster fire all week. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I'm not even trading on my live account. I'm up on the week, and this week's been fairly difficult in terms of the New York session. It's been not easy. So I know come Friday, it's usually not a high probability or high win rate for me. Just looking at data and statistics, I know I'm not typically doing well on a Friday. I'm fatigued, I'm tired, so my judgment may be skewed. I just know myself very well. Um, if I wasn't live streaming, I wouldn't be on the charts. I would have been just sleeping in today and doing something else. And you'll come to that graduation as well in your development where you no longer care about being on the charts every day because you know these things repeat. They repeat every single day, every single week, every single month. Have I read the Jared Tindler short book on intuition? Yeah, I've done a little bit on it. And I think that's exactly what I was trying to explain here. Is sometimes with intuition, it's just something I can't explain. It's just a feeling that I get, and I'm just leaning on that feeling. Is 6 years of experience and 4 years of spending time with these concepts to where I'm just leaning on that experience. Juan, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Appreciate that. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, exactly, Phil. I think that's another reason for me too. If I'm already up on the week and I'm rolling into Friday, I don't really want to go into the weekend pissed off that I made a bunch of mistakes and I took a bunch of losses on a Friday. I would rather just end the week off on a good note. Thank you, Justin. I just signed up. How do you? Oh, yeah. So in here, there's just nothing. I have to wait for time. It doesn't mean that it may not drop off lower, but there's nothing that I can do currently. Mats, yeah, I started out as trading trend lines, EMAs, Elliott wave, harmonic patterns. I've used all quote unquote retail trading concepts, and I did that for about 2 years until I was introduced to ICT, and then from there I dove into his concepts, joined his mentorship, and then became charter. The rest is history. So any of you complaining about being in 6 months, a year, 2 years into trading these concepts, I mean, I traded retail concepts for 2 years and then basically had to restart all over again. So it's just how bad you want this. How bad do you actually want to be successful? Are you just treating this as a hobby? Are you treating this as just a game that you hope that you become successful at? Or are you actually treating this like a business, something that you're taking seriously? Because I know I am. You need to put in a lot of work, way more than you actually think. And it's going to take you a lot longer than you think. So, harsh reality to swallow, but that's just the truth. I fell into the trap of thinking I was going to be a millionaire by a year. But think of this as if it's a degree, like a bachelor's or a doctor's degree. So the fact that we've ran out sell-side liquidity inside of this discount, I'm not saying that this is bullish by any means, but it's just something I'm watching. If we do get a displacement higher, there's a lot of buy-side liquidity above price in here. So ICT would call this a trendline phantom. So what I used to use is a trend line, right? And it's the reason why he calls it a trendline phantom is because all of these people have their stop losses trailing above these highs in here. And even beneath all these lows, this is what we used to call basically a descending trendline pattern, basically. ES and YM are and NQ. I mean, they're all kind of decoupled away from each other. I mean, that's something that's kind of telling me as well to possibly just sit still and not do anything and not have a hardline bias. If YM and ES were both really heavily moving off lower and in sync with NQ, I would have been probably a little bit more inclined to want to short. But again, there was nothing in here for me to make that decision. So we're inside of this, we call it a balanced price range, but particularly that fair value gap in here. For those who are newer, I'm not saying to go long off of this or do anything, but I'm just annotating what price is doing. So we've taken out sell side liquidity there. There is buy side above us, so I'm curious to see if we get a run above it. So all of those highs, like I was describing, possibly could be taken out. And this is, to me, if this thing, let's just play devil's advocate, it ripped off higher today, then all I'm doing is I'm switching my bias in real time, and I'm just doing it with enough evidence, enough supporting evidence to where I can see, all right, well, it's no longer willing to drop off lower, then I would just switch if I have enough evidence for it. But either way, there's nothing in here that would make me do anything currently. I mean, look at the 5-minute delivery so far. Look at there's no inefficiencies in price. There's no energetic displacements lower or higher. It's very high resistance. So if I know that, I can already see its high resistance. I talked about that even over here. If I can see its high resistance liquidity run signature, I'm not trying to get into price until I can clearly see that either we're out of the high resistance and we're moving into low, or I do nothing. Yeah, and again, if you've been here, Nathan, if I can build a case for both sides equally, then I'm not going to do anything. What happened to my music? That's what I'm missing. I guess that was only an hour. What do you guys listen to when you trade, or if you do? So to me, when I'm looking at dollar index, I would elect to believe that we're going to see higher prices in it. I'm kind of switching my stance on it, where it's no longer really looking like it wants to move off lower. So if dollar index moves higher, especially today, then we would see NQ, ES, and YM move off lower. So you have to be paying attention to that. I watch car reviews. I've never heard of that one. That's interesting. To each his own. I mean, that's cool, man. And this is a very good example of what high resistance liquidity run signatures look like, where you're just having deep retracements back, kind of just stalling out. There's no clear direction. It's difficult to trade inside of this. It's difficult to manage a position inside of this. So I would rather elect to do nothing. Especially if you're at the end of the week. I mean, your mental capital tokens are probably already spent. So your patience for being inside of a high resistance signature, especially towards the end of the week, it's going to be very thin. That's the reason why I'm very weary of going into a Friday, because my mental capital tokens are already spent. And if I had a bad week and I just, I made some mistakes, I took some losses, then I'm not even looking at the charts on a Friday, because I know I'm 90% of the time I'm going to end up making more mistakes and taking more losses. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to sit out and not want to trade, because the ego in you wants to prove to yourself that you are right and you can, you know, you can fix these mistakes, you can make back those profits, but the right thing to do, the logical thing to do is to do nothing. And then work on yourself on the weekend and figure out how you can improve and let those emotions kind of settle. Ian, that's hilarious. Ever tried to trade the 5-second chart? No. I think that's a down the road thing. Nor do I think I don't know if I'll ever be on the 5-second chart consistently. I mean, look at the 5-minute delivery in here. I'm going to keep mentioning it to you guys, but this is something through time and experience. I'm looking at it going, yeah, that's not favorable. I'm not going to push in here. There's no reason to be pushing inside of that environment. I could easily see we're going higher. I could see that we're going lower. And I think to some people, they're like, well, you know, I'm supposed to know exactly where price is going. I'm supposed to know for a fact. It's like, brother, you're not supposed to know that. Like, there's so many times where I just don't know where price is going. I don't know what it's doing. And I just have to sit on my hands and do nothing. Roderick, thank you, brother. Yeah, I think for more experienced people, you'll probably relate a little bit more. If there's any women in here, girls, I would go ahead and drop a comment. I'd love to see if, I think my viewership is like 95% males. I would not be surprised. So if you look at a 15-minute time frame in here, yay, there we go. Awesome. I'd love to see that. Well, 98% looks like we got the 2% in here. That's funny. Do I ever trade ES? Occasionally I did this week. I have a review on my channel of the Six Sister approach, where I traded it this week in real time. Awesome. Look at that. A lot of them. That's awesome. I know it's a lot of dudes in this industry, but the market doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care if you're black, yellow, purple, green. So you can see in here we're displacing higher, taking out the buy side liquidity. In hindsight, be like, man, you know, I should have took that long in here. And that's, you know, some people could have took a long and they're profitable in this, but to me there wasn't enough evidence, nor would I have ever taken that. I'm not saying if you did take that, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't have. That's your own particular style and model, but me personally, no. CJ looking for a wife. Exactly. No, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want my spouse to be trading. I'd want her to be doing something else. Again, I just, if I'm going to get into a trade, I would at least need the narrative to align with what I'm looking for. And to me, I can't see the narrative today moving higher, making a new high of the day currently. Doesn't mean that can't switch, but I just don't see enough juice to squeeze out of this. But if you're looking for short-term scalps, something like that, I mean, it's a decent run. Thank you, Harris. Yes, I'm in Chicago. So I'm going to move away this inversion. So that's our new day opening gap. If we get above this SIBI and then treat it as an inversion, could treat it as support to move higher. But again, when I'm looking at the order flow on a 15-minute, a 30-minute, a 1 hour, I don't particularly see us making new highs of the day. So I just have to sit still and do nothing. If you take a look at YM's got some really nice relative equal highs that it's probably going to run for. And then ES, I want to see if it wants to move alongside YM. And if that does happen, then NQ would start moving in sync. So on the 15-minute time frame, what do? We drop down into this discount, optimal trade entry with that fair value gap there. Mantis? Oh shit. That's awesome. I mean, I'm not directly in Chicago, but that's where I say I'm at. I'm a little bit outside of it, in the suburbs. So we've gotten above, we closed above this SIBI. So see if this wants to be treated as an inversion. Juanca trader, awesome. Greetings from Spain, Barcelona, Spain. Amazing. So we talked about that trend line phantom. And you can see in a high resistance liquidity run signature how we're taking out a lot of sell side and leaving all the buy side intact. Let's see, we took that out. So you see how we're not taking out the highs in here, but all during that time you're running out sell stops consistently. So we had this premium SIBI up here. See if the 5-minute wants to reach up into it. If you're new here, I'd appreciate if you guys like the video, subscribe. So even though, if let's say you're fearing missing this long, right? Like, man, you know, I really want to be in, I want to participate in this. Or if you know you're beating yourself up that you didn't take an entry here or here. To me, there's just not enough evidence currently for me to really push along. And it's fine even if we got up to these later portions of this dealing range and we start moving towards, let's say, this high. I know there's a likely chance that there's going to be an entry somewhere in here. And that way I protected myself because I wasn't fairly 100% certain that we're going to move higher today. So you see me do this a lot where I'm waiting for like 75% of the move to the draw on liquidity be complete, and all I'm looking for is that last 25% extension to the draw on liquidity, because 90% of the time it protects me from taking a loss. I'm not trying to pick the best entry. I'm not trying to be a sniper. I'm not trying to pick the lows or the tops of trends. I'm waiting for like 75% of the move to be complete, and I'm just picking off, basically like a sniper, the last 25%, and that's all I need. That's all you need to be consistently profitable and to be eating. And if you want to kind of put that into a market maker seller buy model, like you saw yesterday, it doesn't mean that you suck and you should, you know, change your style. To me, it's the best way to trade. So let's go out to like a 15-minute time frame in here. That 1 hour is pretty decently key on when we drop down into it, because that's the parent, right? It's the parent inefficiency to the 15-minute, the 5-minute, the 1 minute. So the fact that the 1 hour is there when we drop down into it, it's going to take significance, or it's going to be the parent to the other ones. So it would be a really good indication that we're going to at least want to run for that high. If the 15-minute closes above the SIBI in here, that would be, well, we got about 10 seconds left. But if we close above that, that's a really good indication that we'd probably want to target the buy side. So watch how we close in here in about 5 seconds. So we didn't close all the way above it. Doesn't mean that you're not going to gravitate higher, but it would have been a really good confluence. I forgot to annotate in here this last up close candle, or even the series. All of these, I'm just going to annotate it, are your bullish breaker. So you have a low, high, a lower low, then a higher high here, drop down into it. So that orange shaded or yellow shaded area, that's our new day opening gap. So you can treat it much like a fair value gap. Couple premium SIBIs in here that you can extend out to your right. We get above them, we can treat it as an inversion. Whatever you're looking for, extend out the opposing side and utilize it as support or resistance. Somebody asked, would I be, you'd be interested in a short? Is that wrong? In my personal opinion, I wouldn't want to be shorting in this. There's too much evidence now that this thing's going to at least want to seek the buy side liquidity. If it was going to drop off lower, it should have already done it. It shouldn't have returned back into this premium range, at least my personal opinion. So we get above the buy side liquidity level there. And it's just about looking like, okay, well, if we get above here, how far can we really expand? I mean, there's a high here in this old inefficiency, so it may want to return back into this area. So I at least need to know where price could lead into. I'm not fearing anything. I'm not trying to jump into price. If I don't get an entry and there's nothing in here to where I could enter into the market, then it is what it is. If you're able to position yourself down here, that's fantastic. But sometimes you can't see the drawn liquidity in real time, and if you did get that right, that's awesome. Thank you, Elite. Yeah, please don't spam in here. You only need to send the message once. If you look at YM is getting above its buy side liquidity pool. ES looks like it wants to reach into its buy side liquidity pool as well. And for ES, it would be at 49.33. So in here, the fact that we closed above it, now we can treat that as an inversion. What's inside of the inversion? A fair value gap. So I'm just going to do this just for the sake of the stream. I'm going to put a position on. I'm not saying to do anything. My stop loss, I at least want it underneath this candle's low, because if we wick, it's fine. And all I'm looking for is if we can dig up into that buy side. If I get it wrong, it's fine. I'm simply paper trading today. And if I get it right, that doesn't mean anything to me either. It's simply me, if I'm already done for the week and I just want to practice, I want to see, what I could do, then this is what I'm doing. Getting it right or wrong means nothing. It's just simply a drill or a practice for me. That's the reason why you shouldn't be taking trades today with me, because I'm probably just doing something for fun. So the fact that we closed on the 5-minute, this can be treated as an inversion as well. Again, this is the reason why I'm telling you do not trade alongside me today. If I got it right, I'm not going to sit here and boast and brag about it either. That's the previous new day opening gap up there. Yesterday's new day opening gap. So there's also a small inversion resting kind of underneath it there. That's the reason why my stop loss was placed a little bit lower, particularly because wicks do the damage, right? I can't just choke my stop loss super short, because on a 1-minute time frame, you can have wicks that just trade right through your inefficiencies. If you're looking at that 2-minute time frame in here, this would be an inversion because we closed above it. Same with the 5-minute. If I was actually in a real live trade, would I have taken this? Possibly. I would really need to see it expand away from it and dig into that buy side there. I wouldn't want to see it kind of stall out in there. And I mean, this is an example of what I was talking about in terms of like, if this does go to the drawn liquidity, of waiting for basically 75% of the move to be complete. I'm near a drawn liquidity, an entry pattern forms, and I'm just looking for that last 25% or last 10 to 15% of the move to be complete. Because that way I have full confidence that, well, we're pretty near the drawn liquidity. The move's 75% complete. It's probably a high probability, rather than me trying to pick off of a long or a short in here. Because this way, I have full confidence that, well, the move's basically already done, and all I have to do is just pick off a small entry for 10 to 25% of the move. You saw that yesterday as well. Do I do any mentorships? No, not currently. So let's say this thing really, let's just play devil's advocate. I'm like, man, I think this thing can really expand today. Well, what you would be doing is you would be taking off a partial, at least 0.5 or 1/4% of your position above a drawn liquidity. Much like yesterday, we're taking off partials above the buy side liquidity. And then you can elect to hold on to the position, move stops to break even, whatever you like, to hold on to see if something can expand further. And there's no telling. I mean, this thing may collapse lower and stop me out. I don't care. But I'm just going through some other time frames. It's kind of just scanning through it. On the 1 hour, we kind of revisited this order block as a reclaimed order block. So it would really need to expand away from here and dig above that buy side. Five-minute inversion, you can see we opened, dropped down into it, expanded away. So we're coming back down into here, into this 1-minute inversion, and into that fair value gap. I would say at this point in time, it really would need to displace away from here. And to kind of counter this trade idea is, well, YM's got above its buy side liquidity pool, that would be printing a bearish SMT. ES got above its high, but just because there's a SMT during that moment of time doesn't automatically make it valid. But it's a good thing to be aware of and keep your eye on, especially if price starts moving back on your position. And if we didn't run for the high in here, I would probably be done for the day. I wouldn't particularly like that. Just overall, I wouldn't try to keep trying to short this or do anything else. We're basically moving into the end portion of the silver bullet. If I had to elect to believe, I think I'll more than likely get stopped out. Nor do I care. It's the reason why I know myself so well. It's like, all right, well, it's a Friday. I'm up on the week. No reason to push my live account. My judgment's probably skewed, even though in the moment I think I'm right. I'll probably go back in time and be like, oh, that was stupid. So can you mentor me? I'm mentoring right now for free. I literally do live streams every single day. I do daily logs. I mean, that's mentoring. Doing a one-on-one is never going to help, really. Like, you have to sit down for a course of weeks, months, years, and with somebody who's experienced and have them walk you through price. And if you have individual questions, of course, that's where you could, message me. But SMT stands for Smart Money Tool or Smart Money Technique. Okay, no, I really don't. I don't particularly, unless I'm super confident in something and I'm already positioned well. Like if I was positioned down here and I saw another entry I could position, but for me, I would have my biggest contract size at the low, and then I'd be just doing a lower contract size until I move into my preferred draw on liquidity. But I still think that I have years to go to be able to really pyramid and be confident. Accidental. Yeah, some people ask the weirdest questions, man. I don't know. I mean, I have pictures of myself, so I mean, kind of figure that out yourself. Exactly. I do the mentoring that I wish I wanted, or at least I had. I mean, ICT did this for us besides the live streaming, but he did this last year as well. Dude, and he answered back. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I mean, I do, so. In case I have a potential girlfriend on here. And Q's my only girlfriend. ES, like a side chick. FEG, how do you know I'm 6'2"? Did I say that? That's funny if somehow you know that. Maybe I answered it somewhere. I don't remember. Yeah, I said that. Okay. I forget. Yeah, you want my garage code? That's not funny, Jack. You're not funny. Do I trade prop account or personal? I trade with the prop firm. I funded futures, which, I mean, if you're new here, um, all the trades I do take are on that funded account. But as I've stated already, I'm up on the week. You can check my Twitter. I'm as transparent as they come. I mean, I genuinely, I do that for a particular reason, because a lot of people hide behind a lot of social media shit. I mean, I don't want to go on a rant, but all of these, I mean, look at my follower count compared to all of these big people. None of them are live trading. None of them, I mean, a handful of people show losses. I mean, go through their profile. They're all wins. Nobody shows losses because they're too scared to ruin their reputation or what, they're following, so they can shill you something. They can sell you something. I mean, if I'm going to sell you something, which I intend to do, to be honest with you, I'm going to show you that I can live trade. I'm going to show you that I can make money. I'm going to show you in a live account that I can actually do this. And if I can't, then obviously you shouldn't pay for it. I mean, that should be the standard, like the industry standard. But I mean, I've been scammed, and the reason I'm so heavily on it is because I've been scammed by so many people, even in this community. So somebody's got to set the standard for this. Somebody's got to be out here live trading, showing you real profits. That way, you can go to the next person and be like, you know what, man? I saw this person live trading showing me real results. Can you do that for me? And if they can't, then don't buy their mentorship. There's no reason. I mean, it's easy to post. You know how many people post execution videos and beforehand they're taking, 10, 20, 30 trades, and they just reset their paper trading account and then they post an execution video. It's like, you have to think with your head, man. These people they're salesmen. They're snake oil salesmen. I'm sorry to go on a rant, but I mean, it does irritate me a lot, because I've been scammed plenty of times through people throughout these 6 years, and I don't want anybody else to do that. No, they are. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. They're hiding behind. Go through your favorite influencers. See how many times they post a loss. Go through it. I guarantee you won't find one loss in the last year. That tells you something. And they're selling something. Like, how is that possible? You're telling me you've never taken a loss in a year? That's crazy. Like, I'm doing a giveaway. That doesn't mean I'm a scam. It just means that it's an easy way to gain exposure and help you guys out as well. And I'm doing it with a company that I use and I make money with. It took me about 4 to 5, probably on the 5th year. Like, till last year, I really started to hit my stride. Who scammed you? Off the top of my head, Sofrano, some dude that used to be in our community before Twitter got popular in ICT. I joined his mentorship, and he left within 2 days. Scam me. I've been scammed multiple times through people. Like, there's plenty of people who claim they're good. You join their mentorship, and then they're trash. It's because they're only putting their good side on social media. All I'm trying to do is make you guys use your brains, think, be a critical thinker. Well, giveaways tie into selling. If you see people doing giveaways all the time, they're trying to gain attraction and views and followers to then sell you something. It's a system. I mean, I'll be as transparent as they come. I mean, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the same thing, but I can actually trade. I can do this live. Like, I mean, if you have a problem with that or you get upset that I'm saying these things, then I mean, I don't know. All I'm trying to do is help you. Shadow trades, I know you, brother. Actually, I've seen you on Twitter. I know you can trade live. I mean, people that aren't doing this live, and that's, to me, it's just like, if you're selling something, you need to be trained live. You have to explain shit in real time. Otherwise, it's like anybody can do hindsight posts. Anybody can sound smart on Twitter. Anybody can make clickbait videos. Enough of that. I can go on a rant, and I'm gonna dial myself back. I'd like to see it run above this buy side here pretty quickly. And if I can just take out 2 partials and then stops the break even. $617 viewers. Awesome, man. It's crazy to see the growth. I appreciate all of you. Exactly, Shadow. I mean, and real recognize real. I mean, I I don't really know you personally, Shadow, but I've glazed through your Twitter a few times and your stuff's popped up. I mean, I can tell that you're the real deal too. I mean, I don't know that personally, but I can real recognize real. We've got above the buy side, so I'm taking off a partial, and then I'd move my stops to break even. And if this thing can keep expanding, then I'll hold out for that. If it starts to stall, starts to do something I don't particularly like, that's when I'll take out another partial, just like I did yesterday. You want to know why I line up my liquidity pools like that? I don't know. Not particularly sure what you mean by that. I don't know if you're saying because it's a horizontal line or it's not a vertical line, whatever. So that gray box that we're inside of, that's yesterday's new day opening gap. It was a fairly large new day opening gap, so I'm going to extend that out in time and utilize that for today as well. This is the current new day opening gap as well. Down here was a breakaway. And that's where just patience comes. I think a lot of you while I was speaking were probably panicking, like, man, it's not moving. It just keeps going back to my entry. Nothing in here told me to cancel the trade or can the idea. It was still valid. Everything else is still moving higher. ES is reaching up into the buy side I mentioned at 49.33. YM is moving higher as well. NQ's in sync with it. And if that's all as a beginner, I mean, that's all you need. 10, 20 handles on NQ, that's all you need. And it may not sound like a lot. It may not be like, man, I want to go for 100 handle runs. But, I mean, if you can consistently keep doing that over and over again, that's going to add up. You could do that 2-3 times a week and have 100 handle weeks. So, I really want to see this thing run higher. Again, I'm done trading on my live account. So this is all paper trading. I could care less about it. Nor am I going to brag and boast about this trade. Alex, yeah, I saw a couple people ask me that on Twitter. Yeah, I trade micros on my live account because if you have a $3,000 drawdown, like on my live account, I'm allowed to do 10 contracts on NQ, like E-mini contracts. That is absurd. I shouldn't even be doing one contract on NQ with a $3,000 drawdown. So I do like 3-4 micro contracts, and that allows me to risk about 150 to 200, sometimes 250. Because I'm splitting up that drawdown into at least 10 to 15 trades. That way I'm not blowing the whole thing. Just because the broker or prop firm allows you to do 10 contracts, I mean, that's absurd. That's crazy. I just utilize that to my advantage in the challenge phase because I can get it done quickly and I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time. And then I just dial it back in the live setting. So in here you could take off another partial, which I'll probably just do for the sake of it. Oh, geez almighty. See, well, we're going to leave that on. That's what happens when I'm not focused. I just bought a contract. That actually happened in a live setting, then I would just simply cancel the idea. I'd just take out whatever it was, which I'm going to do it just for the sake of it. So, I mean, my entry should have been in here. See, that's what happens when you're live streaming and you're not focused. Click the wrong button. Now I can't go to Twitter and brag and boast about this trade, this 20 handle run. That's a tongue-in-cheek. If the stop loss is at the stop loss, no need to put below it. Yeah, I mean, if this is a breakaway gap, my stop loss, I'm anticipating that this is going to stay open, so my stop loss doesn't need to go underneath it because I'm not anticipating price to dig back into it. Am I scalping using macros, or are you saying micros? Oh, micros. Yeah, I mean, my mindset is very intraday scalper. If I can hold out for an intraday run, then I'm going to hold out for it. So nice expansion higher. That's the reason why putting your stops to break even and taking partials, it allows you to just not have any anxiety or worry about the position because you paid yourself. And then if you put stops to break even, then you're risking nothing. And some of you, even myself, when I have stops to break even, my older self or younger, I'd be worried about those potential profits coming back on me. But that's moving into psychology, is you're attached to unrealized profits. All of this money flickering here, that's not mine. Until I close this trade, and then I go into my account and I withdraw that money, and then it ends up in my bank account, then that money is mine. That's when I can start caring about the money. So you have to be unattached to unrealized profits, because these are not mine. Just because I'm in a position and it was going my way, that is not my money. It's not my money until I can withdraw it and I can use it on a physical item or something in reality. Otherwise, it's just numbers on a screen, and it means nothing to me. You have to really detach yourself away from unrealized profits, because that's the reason why you're exiting out of trades early. You're getting scared. You're not holding on to positions because you're attached to unrealized profits. And I have a note card in front of me that literally says that money is not yours. I have to constantly remind myself, it's not mine. It's not mine. It's not mine until I put it in my bank account. That's something I struggled with for a long time, is taking partials way too early, closing out of positions early. It would run my direction. Even if I'd put stops to break even, I'd be super fearful. But you have to come to that realization that the money's not mine. It truly isn't. And that's simply just reality. So that's the old new day opening gap. Here's what I could do. So I'm going to click the right button today, or right now. Is in here I took out 2 partials above that high. As soon as we made a new high in here, I'm taking out another partial. That's called running down equity. So if you're ever in a position, and let's say like right now we're in longs, every time you make a new high, you're partialing out of the position. And you saw me do that yesterday. As soon as we made a new high, I took out another partial, and then price came back and stopped me at break even. So it's a really good system that ICT uses. It's called running down equity. Every time you make a new high or a new low in your position, you're taking out a partial, paying yourself. Because I don't know particularly if this thing's going to just rip off higher or if we could drop lower. Obviously ignore these 2 little executions that I did if you are really trying to study the position. So hopefully, did this position make sense to you guys? Do you understand the logic behind it? Do you understand why I'm taking partials, why I'm moving stops to break even, etc., and how I was able to position myself in here where the move was basically 75% complete, and that last 25 I was able to get in there? To me, it's such an easy, simplistic way to look at the market, rather than me trying to be perfect and get the lows and the highs of runs. FEG, that's good though. It would be a bad idea for you to enter into this market and be profitable and think that you could do that again. You're fatigued, you're tired. The best thing you can do is get off the charts, get off my live stream, go rest, take a break, man. It's fine. You have to know yourself, man, because if you try to do that over a long course period of time, I mean, the probabilities of you being profitable and being right all the time, that's not going to work out. So see, that's a good question, Brett. So in times like this where there's a very large expansion and I'm anticipating breakaway gaps, I'm anticipating that we're not going to have a large retracement back into a premium or discount. How do I know that? Well, A, experience. B, if you're in a rapid delivery, you're not going to get these large discount premium retracements. You have to anticipate that. And you have to look at, okay, where's the breakaway gap? There's one right in the middle of this run up. So this one's going to be respected with the inversion plus the 5-minute. It's at the upper portion of this move, of this run up. So I'm not anticipating a huge retracement back because we've had this rapid delivery. To your question, I mean, time and experience will teach you that as well, when to anticipate discounted premiums, retracements. Let me look at the chat here. Yeah, VG, I mean, congratulate yourself. That's awesome, man. I mean, even me, I didn't take this on my live account today. Am I mad or upset? I'm like, man, I took this paper trade account or trade on live stream with everybody watching and I could have profited. I don't care because I know at the end of the day what's more important. What's important is I'm following my system, which tells me if I'm up on the week, do not trade. Do not take it on a live account. It's fine to sit here if I have the discipline just to paper trade, which I'm doing right now. Those are things you need to congratulate yourself in your journal and be happy that you were disciplined enough to do that. Rashonda, you literally told somebody to get off the live stream because it would help them if that doesn't show your genuine nature. Thank you. Yeah, again, I understand what it's like to be a real trader. Like, that's the best thing to do is get off the live stream, get off the charts, go rest. Like, stop thinking about this stuff. Let yourself kind of just decompress for the weekend. So in here, I'm going to take these away. I want to see if we can get above the old new day opening gap and treat that as support and then trade higher. If not, then I'm done for the day. I've already taken out 3 partials out of this position, so I paid myself, I did my job, and that's all you could ask for. If I didn't do that little weird mess up, my entry was in here originally. I mean, that whole run is 35 handles. That's a very good starting place for a new trader, even for me. I mean, if I'm consistently able to do 30, 40 handles a day, I mean, that adds up, man. Let me scroll to some higher time frames in here. I haven't been busy with the chat. Some homework tonight for you guys is the RTH gap. How did that entry line up with the RTH gap? It was in confluence with that entry. So study how we utilize that to press higher. Anytime you have an RTH gap, you can use it in confluence with whatever you're already using for your trade idea. I love cooking. Well, the 2022 model, this is where you can get confused because this goes for any model. You need to be paying attention to what the narrative is doing. This very well could sell off, but for me particularly in the way, in terms of looking at the SMT correlation and just the narrative on the higher time frames, if I'm overall bullish, just because there's a raid on buy side liquidity doesn't mean that I automatically go short. So you have to be paying attention to narrative and a higher time frame perspective. If that's in line, then the 2022 model will work. Do I particularly see this playing out as a 2022 model? I don't really know. I'm probably going to get stopped out of break even and I'm done for the day. I'm done analyzing. My brain is fried from the week. So if you ask me that question again next week, whoever asks that, I love cooking up. I'll probably answer it in a better way. I apologize. I'm tired, man. What do we got on here? 530 viewers. Amazing. Welcome for all those are new. I think somebody mentioned a 5-minute breaker. Yeah, I mean, if we collapse lower, I don't have a perspective on the rest of the day. I'm done. I'm not trying to push the rest of the week on a Friday. But guess what we did? We paid ourselves. You could have just took your full position, the full pull out of that, instead of taking partials. But if you think it can run, then obviously take some partials, pay yourself, and do what I did here. Move stops to break even. I wish I didn't click the buy button on accident. My position would have been down here. So I'll see how long this wants to run. Otherwise, I'm probably done for the week. I'm tired. It's a lot of talking. Give me 1 second. I honestly hope I get stopped at a break even. I want to be done. When do I not use DXY? If DXY is inside of consolidation, which it has been all week, then I'm not utilizing it as heavily. Please stop me out of break even. Oh, thank you. All right, cool. So that was that trade. Hopefully you guys were able to learn something from that. Not that it means anything to me. It's the same thing as yesterday. It was literally an identical trade to yesterday, basically. And these things will happen and repeat every single week, not every single day, but for the most part, every single week. 75% of the moves have been complete. Easy draw on liquidity. Plug and play your entry pattern and get into the market. Take partials, protect yourself, stops to break even, and that's it. It's an easy system. I know there's so many questions in here. I'm not going to be able to get all of these, and to be honest with you, I'm done for the week. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. It's been a great week in terms of live streaming, trading. I appreciate all the new following, all the new subscribers. I really do appreciate all the support. I live stream every single day. I post a review of price every single day on my channel. So make sure to go over to Twitter, follow me _@CJ Trades, subscribe here, like the video. And that's going to be it for this session. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be safe.